Hello, this video is about how to join in a new color. So I've got this pink here I'm going to start with. I like to knit holding the yarn in my left hand, so I'm going to hold the tail in my right hand. I'm just going to tuck it in my fingers there and get myself ready to knit. I like holding it in my offhand because then it feels like I can just start knitting. Okay, so here we go. It's there. So the first stitch is going to be weird because the black yarn is still just attached to the ball and it's going to get loose. Okay, so I'm just going to start knitting. And then really, if that's your whole goal, that's it. You've joined a new color. You can leave the tails dangling and deal with them at the end by sewing them in. But I'm going to show you how to weave the tail in as you go as well, because I hate sewing in ends. I hate getting to the end of a project and then realizing I have hours of sewing left to do. Okay, so you start with your first stitch. It's been made, and now I've got this tail here. So I'm just going to tuck the tail under the other ball of yarn so that it has a twist in it there. And then I'm going to pass it over, whoops, not the needle, just the yarn, over my working yarn to the left, and just kind of hold it there, and then knit the next stitch. Okay, and then you want everything to be nice and snug here, so I'll give it a tug. So I'm going to pass it then over my working yarn to the right and leave it there and knit the next stitch. And then I'm going to flip it over to the left and knit the next stitch. So it might sometimes try to like pop up in the way of the yarn you're actually knitting with, especially when it's going this way. But so you just want to kind of tuck it down and out of the way, and then make sure you only grab your yarn that you want, but not the tail. Okay, and then this is what it looks like behind. So it kind of just fits in with the pink stitches that are growing there anyways. If you hold your yarn in your right hand, then it all works in the same way. Where's my tail gone? Here we go. Okay, so the tail was just over and to the left, I think. So I'm going to flip it over and to the right and knit the next stitch. And then over and to the left. Sorry about my giant hand there in the viewfinder. And knit the next stitch. And then over to the right. So you just keep passing it back and forward. Sometimes they get tangled, so make sure I'm keeping track here. It's a little harder with the camera in the way too. Okay, over to the right. I can always hold it in the front if I need to. Okay, and then knit. Okay, so it's a bit slow because you're not just knitting, you're moving the tail back and forth. Wah-ha. But then you don't have to sew anything in at the end when you're done. So it goes like this. Because it's just weaving like up and down and up and down, behind the stitches, I like to go a good distance with it. So I'm going to resume knitting continental because that's my preferred method. And then flip it over. And flip it over. So it's always behind the needles, and it's just going back and forth over the length of working yarn there. To the left. Flip it to the right, and then knit. Flip it to the left, and then knit. If you don't like passing it back and forth and you do happen to knit continental style, you can also just, instead of flipping it to the right, you can just go under it and knit the next stitch, like catching a float in color work. And then you can go over it to knit the next stitch. And then you go under the tail and knit the next stitch. But it always stays behind. And then you go over and knit the next stitch. And so on till the end. There you go. And then I would just leave the tail dangling. I'm going to stop doing that now and just finish the row. And then I would leave the tail dangling at the back. If it got in my way, I could trim it like an inch or something, but I usually like to leave them showing because as I go, I'm just going to give it a tug now because I don't want to make my fabric too tight. If the tail is like forming a hard line on the back, that's no good. And this I know I'm going to block aggressively at the end, so I'm going to want to leave extra length in case when I'm blocking it, the tail pops out a little bit. This just keeps it in longer, further, I guess. And also blocking it is going to kind of give it that good memory to tell it this is your new home now, so don't leave. So there you go. That is how to weave in your ends as you go. Thanks. Bye.